Sometimes love isn't enough. As an adoptive mom, people would often say this to me, as if to imply I couldn't love my son enough to change behaviors or heal his trauma, so I should probably just give up. At least that's how I took those four powerful words, which had buried themselves deeply in my mind, leading me to doubt my ability to parent my child. Sometimes love isn't enough. That is the truth. Oftentimes, you need love and powerful, personalized tools to raise a child who's experienced trauma and disrupted attachment, or a child who you're struggling to connect with. I am on a mission to help parents raising kids with a tricky past to show up with unconditional love and practical tools to lovingly manage even the most challenging of times. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Plus, if you like what you hear, I'd love for you to leave a review. Now let's get to the good stuff. Welcome back to Sometimes Love Isn't Enough. I am your host, Angie Grandt. And today I want to get kind of raw and real about this idea that as parents, we face such a huge challenge. Being a parent, it's terrifying. It comes with so much pressure, both externally and internally. When we make that decision to be a parent, sometimes it's not so much as a decision as it might be of like, oh, I didn't know that was going to happen. But sometimes parenting really is a decision, especially as adoptive parents. It's hard to go into adoption accidentally because, well, there's a lot of paperwork and a lot of caseworkers prior to being an adoptive parent. So to say that you accidentally became an adoptive parent would that would be hard to do. I know that there's so many different circumstances out there, but anyways, back to what we were talking about is that being a parent comes with a lot of pressure, a lot of fears. I know for many of us, there's this huge fear of not wanting to mess our kids up, this fear of feeling like we don't want to parent the way that our parents parented us, or not wanting to do things that set our kids up to feel less than, or we don't want our kids to, I don't know, like not feel fulfilled in their life. Being a parent comes with so much pressure. I think about when I made the decision to have my daughter. I was married at the time, and on the one hand, the excitement of being a mom, of bringing somebody into this world that I got to just give all of my love to, it lit me up. But pretty quickly after that excitement came this overwhelming flood of fear, worry, uncertainty. I worried about whether or not I was going to be good enough for her, whether or not I was going to know what I needed to know to help her thrive in this world. I worried whether or not she would be the same as me or different than me, if she'd be more like her dad, if um, if there would be things about her experience that I wouldn't know how to handle. Ultimately, I worried a lot about whether or not I was going to mess her up because kids don't come with an instruction manual. Even at the hospital, they don't really tell you much about what your kids need from you. They make sure you know how to feed them and diaper them and keep them warm and how to buckle them into a car seat. But beyond that, meeting their emotional needs, their um, their spiritual needs, showing up for our kids is scary. Fast forward about 10 years after I had my daughter and making that decision to bring my son into our life. At the time, he was 5.5 when I met him. And on the one hand, I went into that parenting relationship feeling like I knew so much about kids, about development, about trauma and attachment, about behaviors, about a variety of needs. I felt like I knew so much. I now know that I didn't know how to listen to my intuition. There are several reasons for that. The probably most pressing reason for that is that we're conditioned to not listen to our instincts. There are other things in my unique design that made it maybe challenging for me to not listen to my intuition. I mentioned a few episodes ago about part of my design is that fear of inadequacy, fear of not being good enough, not having enough wisdom to know what to do. And that fear can really block listening to our gut. That fear can really hold us back from tapping into what we actually know because we're afraid we don't know enough. Being his parent in particular, I think being an adoptive mom comes with, or an adoptive parent comes with a whole other layer of overwhelm, of concern. And not everybody experiences this. I'm sharing my experience in the thought that perhaps it might help shed light on maybe some things that you're experiencing or some things that you've been struggling with. But in addition to just the fear of being a parent and all that comes with questioning whether or not you're going to mess your kid up, when we make that decision to bring a child into our home, a child who came from somebody else's womb, a child who perhaps has had other experiences, and even in the situations where maybe your child was adopted day one, the first day, the day they were born. Maybe they were brought into your home and never lived with anybody else. They still spent 9-ish months in a different energy, in a different environment, in different hormones that they were experiencing. And so, even in situations where your child joined your family very early on, they've still had other experiences prior to you. And so in making that decision to adopt, it comes with whether explicitly stated or not, maybe implied, but it comes with this implied agreement that we as parents are going to do the very best to take care of this child that came from somebody else. It comes with this implied promise that I'm good enough to take care of your child. Being an adoptive parent comes with this extra layer of perhaps, I don't know, guilt or duty to uphold that promise of being the best parent that I can, knowing that this child likely is experiencing attachment difficulties, perhaps has experienced trauma, knowing that this child comes to me already with their own baggage. And as parents, feeling that duty to uphold our promise to do our very best. I know for myself and for several others that I've met at this point in my life, those extra layers of parenting that come with being an adoptive parent can really create a bit of a pickle when we think about not wanting to mess our kids up. When we have kids coming into our family who come to us who've already experienced things outside of our control, kids who've experienced things that set the stage for life to be harder for them. And then we make this promise, spoken or not, to do our very best to meet our child's needs, to show up for them in a way that hopefully helps to nurture them and love them unconditionally. But unconditional love is nearly impossible. Unconditional love is a love that comes with no expectations on our end, but we all have expectations. We're human. It's part of the human experience. When we make this promise to love this child unconditionally, we perhaps are setting ourselves up to struggle in a way that we didn't anticipate. I know when I made the decision to adopt my son, I went into it thinking that I'm going to love him no matter what. Those are words that I said out loud. I said to myself, I'm going to love this little boy no matter what because he needs love. But when behaviors got hard, all of a sudden there were conditions on my love. And it's not that I stopped loving him, but I definitely stopped showing up for him with unconditional love. I definitely stopped showing up for him with pure compassion for what he had experienced. I stopped showing up for him in a way that let him know that he was lovable no matter what kind of behaviors his body was experiencing. My my beginning goal when I decided to become an adoptive parent shifted over time. And I'm not saying that to beat myself up at all, because it there's a ton of research out there now that shows us that this is the normal experience. When we as parents continuously are getting pushback from our kids and experiencing behaviors, we go into this space where we put up a wall around our heart. We put up a wall around showing up for our kids in a way that we originally promised to do, but now something's getting in the way for us in our relationship with our kids. And we don't want to do it, but we're stuck in this situation where we don't see a way out. And so we're telling ourselves, I don't want to mess up my kiddo. And maybe the behaviors they're experiencing have nothing to do with us. And I'm doing the very best I can. And I'm trying so hard. But at the end of the day, if our relationship with our child is dependent on how well they behaved for the day, or dependent on my expectations of their behavior, well, I really want to challenge you to take a step outside of your situation, to take a step back and really evaluate your expectations, evaluate whether or not there's anything that you have the power to do to shift how you're thinking and feeling. Because you're not messing your kiddo up. But if you can do different to show up differently for them, then that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to help you. Your kiddo needs you to help them see their worth. Your kiddo needs you to help them see how incredibly lovable they are, how much they deserve love, no matter what behaviors their body is experiencing. Your kiddo needs you to have tools in your tool belt that no matter what is happening with them, no matter what they're experiencing, no matter what big feelings they're having, your kiddo needs you to have tools in your tool belt to show up in a way that helps to empower them. But it starts with you. It starts with you having the right tools. It starts with you seeing your own value and your own worth. It starts with you really understanding your unique and vital role in your child's life so that you can show up for yourself, so that you have the energy that you need for them, and so that you can show up for your kids in a way that leaves them feeling empowered, leaves them seeing themselves as precious and unique and irreplaceable because they are. So, I hope that you found this episode powerful, and I hope that it shifted the way that you think about yourself and your relationship with your kiddo. in a way that leaves you feeling empowered to do the next right thing for your family. That's it. I will talk soon. I hope that you found this episode so incredibly powerful. Thank you for joining us for Sometimes Love Isn't Enough. If you resonated with what you heard here, please subscribe to this podcast and give us a review. You can also follow us on all the socials. Check the show notes for all the details about how to start tackling behaviors and creating a powerful, loving relationship with your child, a child who needs your love the most. And if your gut's telling you that it's time for a change now, book a free consult. I'd love to help you love unconditionally and show you that you have that power within you.